Hi everyone, I'm hoping we're live. So I can see that there's 20 people and somebody, Maker Superstore, saying hello. So if you're there, can you say hello, type it wherever you need to type it on Facebook. I'm having to stand away from the camera a bit because I've flipped the camera around just so you can see me initially. So I'm kind of squinting to see the comments. So I can see Lynn, I can see Susan, I can see Chris, Bev, Catherine, Liz. Brilliant, wow. So just give it another couple of seconds. I can see Anne, Eva. Nice to see you too. Not used to doing the face on camera, so I've not quite got it at the right angle. So that's why I'm having to keep stepping away. Otherwise you'll only kind of see this bit upwards. Hi Nadine. So I think Eileen, Deborah, welcome. So people are jumping on now, aren't they, from all over the place. My phone's telling me we've got 30 people. So yeah, let us know in the comments that you can hear me and where you're from. I can see Jenny saying hi Ashley. So that's good. So what I'm going to do, while you're all just getting yourselves together, I'm just going to flip the camera onto the ScanNCut machine just so as I don't make you all sick. And then I'm going to flip my camera back down to the desktop view like it normally is. So I'm going to flip you back to my desk. So I'm just waiting for my phone to catch up. And I'm really sorry if I'm missing any of your comments. So I saw Eileen, Chris saying can hear me, brilliant, from Hampshire. Hi Denise, can hear me in Leicester. Karen from Little Clacton. Sue from South Derbyshire. Oh no, hello from my COVID settee. Oh dear me, I hope you're okay, Sheila. Can hear and see you in Louisiana. Wow, welcome. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do, if it's okay, there's 42 people it's saying at the moment, so I'm going to just crack on. Let me just first start off by saying, if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat, but if I don't answer them, I'm not ignoring you. It's just that once I get concentrating on what I'm doing, I don't always see your comments. So if I see them, I'll answer them as I go. If not, we can kind of try and answer them all at the end. But makers are on here as well, so hopefully, you know, they'll be able to answer any other questions. So today I'm going to be showing you a couple of projects. We're going to start off with something simple and then we're going to do something a little bit stepped up. And we're going to be using the rotary blade, so the new rotary blade for the ScanNCut DX models, and we're also going to be using the vinyl blade because I'm going to be combining cutting faux leather with heat transfer vinyl. And I'm going to show you how to make a simple project which you can give as a gift and that kind of thing, or just keep for yourself. But you'll learn some tips and tricks hopefully along the way. So first of all, let me start off by saying, if you don't know, there is now a rotary blade for our ScanNCut machine, and it literally is a mini rotary blade like you would have if you were a sewer or you quilt and you probably use a rotary blade. So there's a rotary blade, there's a fabric mat, which I'm going to try and turn around so you can see, and it's kind of this tan gold colour, okay? And it does say fabric mat on it. So your rotary blade and your fabric mat will work beautifully together. And I believe for today and maybe the next couple of days, or while stocks last, because the rotary blade does fly out the door on the Maker Superstore website. If you buy the blade and the fabric mat together, they're going to give you, Maker Superstore going to give you a 20% discount, which is brilliant. So if you've been sat on the fence and thinking, do I need this rotary blade or do I need that fabric mat? Well, yes, you do. And you've got the chance to get it with 20% off. I talk a little bit more about the vinyl blade when I get to that bit. Some of you on here I recognise the names of, and I know that some of you will have been with me when I did my Sunday night YouTube live a few weeks ago, and I didn't do a project then. I just literally did test cutting with the rotary blade and the fabric mat. So for anybody that wasn't there, or for anybody that doesn't know what I'm talking about, if you're new to the ScanNCut, I'm just going to run through quickly and show you all the different types of fabric that I cut in that Sunday night live. Now, I'm not going to be doing test cutting fabric again today. I'm actually going to be doing some projects with you, but I want you to see what you can cut, okay? So these are all the different types of fabrics. So I cut calico, okay? Simple shapes, but nonetheless, you know, it's cut all this different type of media. So calico. This is quilt batting, okay? It cut that. This is a chiffon type fabric. I don't know how well you'll see, but it's, if I shake it, it's kind of very thin and very flimsy. Now, you'll see there are two circles here. One of them is a little bit frayed on the outside, and one of them is more clean cut. Both of these were cut with the rotary blade. The only difference with the one on the right that's got the little bit of fraying on the outside is because I put this on the fabric mat, which is very, very sticky. And although initially it cut it perfectly, when I was taking this off the mat, because it was stuck so good, and this is only literally very, very flimsy chiffon, it frayed the edges of the fabric when I was removing it from the mat. So this one I cut again with the rotary blade, but on a standard mat, and that one cut a little bit better. So your fabric mat is brilliant, but you have to bear in mind it is a lot stickier than your regular standard mat, okay? Everything else was cut on the fabric mat, no problem. It just, this particular one with it being very, very flimsy. So, you know, it cut it, but it was my problem removing it from the mat that made it just fray on the edges. This is a kind of upholstery fabric, and it cut this perfectly well. This is cork fabric, so not the kind of cork that you use on a pinboard, the one that's got the fabric layer on the back. So actual sewing cork fabric. So as I say, for anybody that might be just jumping on, just to let you know that, you know, this was all cut with the rotary blade and the fabric mat. So cork. This is another kind of faux vinyl. So it cut that. Quilting cotton. This, some of you may or may not recognise from when I did the quilt along. This was available at Makers. I'm not sure whether it still is now, but they probably have other fabrics on their website. It cut felt. Again, more quilting cotton, just different shapes, and more felt. And, you know, so, you know, there's no trickery involved. These are all the bits that are stuck on the mat, and you can see all the shapes were cut from them. So that's just to let you know a little bit about the rotary blade and why you would need one. And the reason I say that is, anybody that sews or quilts, you'll know this, that a rotary blade, by virtue of its name, is rotary. So it rotates around as you're sliding it through your fabric, okay? So you get a nice, clean, crisp cut. A regular blade, think of it like using, you know, an X-Acto blade or a Stanley knife or a utility knife, that kind of thing, you know, with just a regular blade in, which is basically what your blade is in your machine. Your standard blade, okay, is a you know, an angled blade. That kind of blade, you literally press into your fabric and you drag, okay? So the two different types of action. So when you're cutting fabric, you don't want something that's going to drag along the fabric and maybe get caught up on the fibres. You want something that's going to glide through your fabric nicely, hence why we now have a rotary blade. And, you know, I banged on and on and on and on for years about wanting Brother to make a rotary blade, and they don't listen to me. I have no connection with them at all, but, you know, yay, we've got one now. So that's what we're going to be using today. So that's just a little bit of a backstory about why, you know, you may want to think about investing in the rotary blade, okay, and your fabric mat. So this is one of the projects I'm going to be making, so I'll just give you a sneak peek. I'm not going to show you the other one yet. I'm just going to show you this one. This was all made on the ScanNCut using faux vinyl and some glitter heat transfer vinyl. And it was all made directly on the machine, so I didn't have to use Canvas Workspace or anything for this. This particular shape is available in any model ScanNCut machine, so anybody can make this, okay? It's one of your basic shapes. So let's just see what we're saying. I don't know if I've missed any questions. So Deborah's saying, bought this from you recently. Love your variety of ScanNCut accessories and prices. That's brilliant. Bought this about 15 minutes ago, Deborah's saying. What else are we doing? Who is making fabric projects with their ScanNCut already? That's Makers asking you that. Can this be used on the CM900? You can't use the rotary blade on the CM900, but you could make this project. You would just have to have a really sticky mat and sorry, I lost my train of thought then. A really sticky mat and a nice sharp knife, okay? And then you just do a test cut as you would, you know, do normally, so that you can set your blade and cut pressure, okay? Okay, so let's just go straight over to the ScanNCut machine and I'll show you how we're going to make this first project. So you should hopefully all be able to see my ScanNCut machine. Now I've got bits all over the place, so I'm a little bit kind of here, there and everywhere, but hopefully you can see the ScanNCut machine. Yeah, I can see it on my phone now. So I'm just going to move my mat and everything out of the way for now. So we're going to start off simple and then we're going to do something a little bit more stepped up with a little bit of a trick along the way, and hopefully at the end of it, if you know, have a go yourself, you'll have something that you can make and reproduce and keep or give as a gift, or, you know, whatever you want to do with it. So my machine, ScanNCut machine, has just gone to sleep now because I'm chatting away. So we're going to go to pattern and we're going to go into the basic shapes. I'm going to scroll down using the little downward facing arrow until I get to the scallop circles, and I'm going to be using the one here which is on the top row, far right hand corner. Now it may or may not be in the same place on your model ScanNCut machine depending on what you're using, but basically it should have the same pattern number, so it's BA-A050, so it's like one of the basic scallops. I'm going to leave the maintain aspect ratio as it is because I'm going to alter the width and I want the height to be adjusted in proportion. So I'm going to take the width down to 2.5 inches. Okay, this isn't vital. You can make this any size you want, but of all the samples that I have made in readiness for this Maker Superstore Live, I did them all at about 2.5 inches wide. Okay, so we've got 2.5 inches wide, and because it is kind of pretty symmetrical, it's also 2.5 inches high. I'm going to say that I want 2. So I've just clicked the plus button here, so it now says I've got, under number, it says I've got 2, and I'm going to say set. So I've now got the 2 scallop circles. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit for you. Okay, that should be better for you. So I've now got the 2 scallop circles on my mat. I'm just going to grab one and I'm just going to bring it down here out of the way, and then I'm going to grab the other one. Now, on the face of it, these 2 scallop circles look pretty symmetrical, but in truth, I have no idea whether they are or not. So with one of them, I'm going to go into edit and I'm going to go into object edit because I want to edit this object. Okay, so for anybody that's new, you know, you're going to be learning how to work your way around the machine and learn some techniques, hopefully. So the first thing I'm going to do with one of them selected, it doesn't matter which one, but one of them needs to be basically flipped and rotated. So I've got this top one selected, you can see the red bounding box around it. So I can see Lynn saying, that's better, you've got me on the big TV. Bless you. So this icon here in the middle of the middle row is your flip or mirror. So if you're cutting vinyl and you're doing text, you tend to, heat transfer vinyl, you tend to need to have to flip your text. So you cut it backwards basically because you cut it slightly differently than regular vinyl, which I'll go on to when we get to the vinyl bit. But for now, I don't know whether this circle is definitely symmetrical. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit the mirror button, and it won't look as though anything's happened because of this particular shape. Okay, so basically all as that's done, it's flipped that shape horizontally. Okay, just to be on the safe side, I'm now going to go to the rotate icon and I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees twice. Now hopefully by doing that, when I come to join these 2 shapes up, because I have glued these together, they should fit together and all the scallops should line up. It will hopefully become clearer when I go on to the other project. Okay. Scallop circle is not necessarily the ideal thing to explain, but stick with me and you'll see what I'm going to do. So I've got one on the mat as it was, the other one I've mirrored horizontally and then I've rotated it twice 90 degrees. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to say okay again, and I'm going to come to add. I'm going to come back to patterns and I'm just going to choose from the basic shapes a square. Now this time I'm going to unlock the maintain aspect ratio because I want to adjust the width and the height independently. So I'm going to take the width down to 1/2 inch. So 0.50 for anybody that is making notes or maybe want to follow along. But this will stay on the maker's Facebook page, so you can go back and watch it at your leisure over and over again. And if I can, I'll try and put it on my blog or YouTube channel. So I've got 1/2 inch wide, and then under the height, I'm going to take the height down to 1.5 inches. Now again, you can play around with these measurements. These are just the measurements that worked for me on using the shapes at 2.5 inches. So by making the aspect ratio blue, I've been able to adjust the width and the height independently. So for this, I only want one. So I've got a width of 1/2 inch and a height of 1.5 inches. And I should have said I work in inches, not millimeters, okay? So I'm going to say set, and that's now put this rectangle up in the top corner of my mat. And because, I've got it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to drag it along and I'm going to position it where I want it in between these 2 shapes, okay? So I'm going to come back to edit. I'm going to choose the 3 red boxes, and because I want to choose everything that's on my mat, I'm going to choose the icon on the right hand side, and hopefully you'll now see, sorry if I'm knocking my desk, my camera's wobbling, you'll now see that I've got 3 red boxes. That means that each one of them 3 shapes is all selected, okay? So I've got them all together. They're not grouped, they're all individual items because you've got 3 individual red boxes. I've just got them all collectively selected together. So I'm going to say OK, and now I'm going to come into this 4 arrow headed icon next to the rubbish bin, and I'm going to select that. Now if you want to move shapes up and down and from left to right, you use these 4 big arrows here. But if you want to align things together, which is what I want to do here, you go to this icon at the top. It's a fairly universal icon. It's the kind of thing you're probably used to seeing if you use Word or Pages or, you know, any other kind of document on your computer. So I'm going to go to, I think it's this one, I can never remember which one it is, but I want to align them all centrally. So I'm going to hit this one, and now they've all lined up centrally together, okay? I think if I use the one on the right, they all just drop on top of each other, and that's not what I want. So I'm going to say OK. Now I'm just going to use my stylus and just click anywhere on my page to deselect those 3 items. And what I want to do now, for me, fortunately enough for me, it's chosen the rectangle, which was the last item I moved. And I want to position it so it overlaps both of these scallop circles a little bit. So I'm going to use the up arrow and just move it up, and it doesn't have to be exact, but you want to try and get it fairly equal on your overlap. So you can see my little red rectangle here, hopefully, if I can zoom in a bit more. And you should be able to see that it's overlapping the top scallop and it's overlapping the bottom, okay? And that's what I want. So now I'm going to say OK. I'm going to come back to the 3 red boxes, and I'm going to choose everything on the mat. And they're all still centralised together because I didn't physically move this rectangle with my stylus. I just used the arrows just to move it up. And I'd already aligned them all, so they're already still aligned, if that makes sense. So I'm going to select all 3 and say OK. Then I'm going to come to Object Edit, and I'm going to weld them all together. So I just need to, I've got the shape kind of down here, so I think it's thinking I'm on a 12 by 20 format, that's why I've got an arrow. But for now I'm going to leave it there, and it says to me, OK to weld pattern, outline irreversible, and it's showing me what it's going to look like, and that's exactly what I want it to look like. So I'm going to say OK and OK and OK again, and I'm going to move this up now so it's nearer the top of the mat. It was because the shape was extending kind of below the 12 by 12 mat, so it thought I was going to be using a 12 by 24. Okay, so that's our basic shape for this first project. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say OK. I'm going to say select. No, I'm not. I'm going to go back. I'm going to say back, and I'm going to do a background scan because I want to scan in my piece of faux vinyl that we're going to be using. So I'm going to bring it back to the desk and just try and make a bit of room. Sorry, I've got stuff everywhere because I'm trying to keep it compact so I'm not having to keep moving all my cameras. So I've got my fabric mat. I've got a piece of faux vinyl. Okay, so it's kind of got like a, not stretchy, but fabric backing on it. And I'm going to position this on my mat. Now I'm just going to, in fact, I'm going to turn it that way. Okay, so I know you probably, I'm going to try and move down a bit. So I'm basically just putting my piece of faux vinyl onto my fabric mat and smoothing it down with the vinyl side up or the fabric side up. Okay, I'm going to load this into the machine, So I'm going to switch you back to the ScanNCut screen, and I'm going to load this mat into the machine. Let me zoom you out a little bit now. So what I want to do, I want to scan my mat for this piece of fabric so I know where to position this shape that I'm going to cut. So I'm going to use the background scan icon and I'm going to press start. That's going to take the mat into the machine, and let me try and bring you down a little bit so you can see it disappearing in, and then it's coming back out, so it's scanning what's on my mat. I don't want to keep moving you too much because I don't want to make you all like motion sick. So now, because I'm using black, I can't see where my design is. So if you hit this little wrench, and you can see here it says background, you can have it so the background's dark, you can have it so it's lighter, which is what I want, or you can turn it off altogether. So I've got the middle one. So now I can see my shape, and I can see my black piece of faux vinyl, okay? I'm going to pop the, let's move you a little bit. Here we go. So I'm going to take the cover off the rotary blade, and you can see it says brother on the front, and that's how it goes into your machine, so you can see the word brother. I'm going to drop it into the cradle and lock it in position. And now I'm just going to go back to the screen. I'm going to say OK, select and cut. And now I can press start because I know that the machine knows where my piece of vinyl is, and I've positioned my shape on the screen where this is. Okay, so that's cutting. So while that's cutting, have we got any questions that anybody needs me to just answer? Because I'm mindful that I've probably missed lots of stuff, but hopefully somebody's already answered them. So you can see this cutting away now, and it's kind of, it keeps checking in with the top of the mat to reset the blade, and then it goes back and it carries on cutting. It's fascinating to watch it actually. What else would you like to see on a Facebook Live from us? Okay, so yeah, what else would you like to see on Facebook? Okay, so that's cut. Now, just to be on the safe side, what I'm going to do before I unload this mat is peel a corner of my vinyl and just make sure that it has cut through. I mean, I knew it would, but this is good practice for anybody that's new. Don't unload your mat, leave your mat where it is, and just, you know, lift a corner up and check that you've cut before you take it out, okay? So now, let's go back to the screen. Sorry, I don't want to keep making you sick. So you can see on the screen now, hopefully, where's my stylus? I've lost it. It says it's finished cutting. I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to unload my mat. Then if I just bring you back to the overhead and I peel this away, and lift this up, and this is the start of our keyring, but we're going to decorate it up a little bit, okay? So has anybody got any questions now before I go any further? So I've just seen somebody that said need to cut slightly thicker felt for Ukrainian badges. Okay, so what I would say is your regular standard blade, so this blade, on the SDX or DX models, you can cut up to 3 millimeters. With your rotary blade, you can cut, I think it's up to 1 millimeter. But bearing in mind it's a different cutting action, this will glide through fabric, whereas this one will drag through fabric, okay? So, as I showed at the beginning, I cut quilt batting and felt, you know, so you should be okay, but it depends how, when you say slightly thicker, it depends how thick is slightly thicker, okay? I've just seen a question go by. Hi, is the fabric mat more sticky than the standard mat? Yes, and that's why I was saying the rotary blade and your fabric mat are the perfect companions for each other. Your fabric mat is for cutting, you know, unbonded fabric. So especially if you're a quilter, you don't want to be ironing things like heat and bond onto the back of fabric when you're a quilter. You want to cut the raw fabric. So you need a mat that's going to hang on to your fabric and keep a hold of it, okay? So yes, the fabric mat is definitely stickier. Do I need the fabric mat? I have been using low tack mat successfully. Eileen, again, it depends what you cut in. So at the beginning, when I said to you, I cut the, let me find it. At the beginning, when I said I cut the chiffon, both these pieces of chiffon were cut with the rotary blade, no problem whatsoever. But because this is very fine and very flimsy, on the fabric mat, when I was removing it, it frayed the edges. Whereas when I put it on a normal mat, it didn't, because the normal mats are less sticky. So, you know, in that respect, it does depend what you're cutting. But I would say, unless it's something like very, very thin like this, any of your other media, like I showed at the beginning, you would cut on your fabric mat. Okay. Terry's saying, sorry I'm late, what vinyl are you using? So for this project, Terry, I'm going to be putting some glitter heat transfer vinyl on this project that I've just shown how to make and cut, okay? And that's gonna, now that leads me on to the vinyl question, which is what I wanted to talk to you about. So, let me see if I'm missing anything. So Deborah's saying, would you use the fabric mat for felt, or is it likely to pull it apart? Again, Deborah, it depends what type of felt. So, sorry for just keep jumping backwards and forwards. This piece of felt was cut with the rotary blade on the fabric mat, no problem whatsoever. This piece of felt, which is, hang on, let me find it, is thicker, but it's more fibrous. Not sure how well you'll see. It's very fluffy compared to this one. Now this cut fine with the rotary blade on the fabric mat, but when I was pulling this off the mat, because it's so sticky, I did break a section of it off. So again, I would use the fabric mat for most things, but if it's something that you know is particularly delicate, like the chiffon, or something like some types of felt which are just very, very fluffy, then maybe use your standard mat. But in the main, fabric mat, fabric blade, and you can cut all this type of stuff which I showed at the beginning. And for anybody that's coming late, if you just go back when we've finished, you'll see, you know, all the samples that I've cut with the rotary blade fabric mat combination. Okay. A Mickey Keyring by the looks of it. You guessed it, Lynn, you guessed it. That's going to be one of the next projects. So let's just talk about vinyl, because we're going to decorate this, okay, with another shape that's in your machine. So for anybody that doesn't know, there is now a specific vinyl blade. It's blue, okay? And again, you may be saying, well, why a vinyl blade? It's basically horses for courses. If you take all your blades out of all your holders and you line them all up next to each other, you will see that they are all different. They're different thicknesses, possibly different angles. I think I did cover this in a blog post a good while ago. So if you go to my website, applelover53.co.uk, and you go to blog, and in the search box just type in blades and it may come up. If it doesn't come up, it was in a Sunday Night Live. I honestly can't remember. But yes, you can cut vinyl with your standard blade, okay? But you can cut more intricate vinyl or get a more detailed cut with the vinyl blade. All right, so that's what I'm going to be using today. And the other thing I'm going to be using today is glitter heat transfer vinyl. Now, for anybody that doesn't know the differences between the vinyl, just going to give you a quick example. So the yellowy orange vinyl that you can see here is just regular vinyl. It's actually outdoor vinyl, but that's irrelevant, you know, whether you use it indoor or outdoor, it's just regular vinyl. And how you know that is because it has a paper backing. So if you're cutting anything with this vinyl, irrespective of what it is, whether it's text or a shape or whatever, you would put this on your mat so that the vinyl colour is facing up and you cut in to the colour, okay? Now for heat transfer vinyl, let me just get this elastic band off my hand. For heat transfer vinyl, which is what I'm going to use, when you turn it over, there's no paper backing. You actually see the reverse side of your vinyl. And the front side, you can see here in the camera, you can see my ring light reflected, is very shiny. And that's because this shiny surface is basically an inbuilt carrier sheet or transfer sheet. So when you're cutting this vinyl, you cut your shape out, and once you've cut your shape out, you get a piece of transfer tape, put it over, you burnish it, lift it off so that what you've cut comes onto the back of your transfer tape, and then you apply it to your project. Again, I've got loads of videos on my YouTube channel showing how to do that, so I'm not going into that today. But heat transfer vinyl has its own built-in transfer sheet or carrier sheet, and because of that, you cut it face down. So you put shiny side down, because when you cut vinyl, you do what's called a half cut. So you only cut halfway into your vinyl. So this one you only cut into the top surface. You wouldn't cut into the paper backing at all. This one, you're going to cut into the back of the vinyl and you're not cutting into the shiny surface. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And for this one, for any type of heat transfer vinyl, whether it's glitter or foil or plain coloured, if it's got a shiny front on it like this and you can see the colour of the vinyl on the back, you need to, if you're using anything that has a direction or words, you need to reverse them or mirror them, okay? So this is going to go onto my mat, and I'm just going to put the whole sheet on for now. If I was doing this for myself, I'd probably just cut a small chunk and put that on, but for now I'll just put the whole thing on. So I'm going to take you back to the ScanNCut machine, and I'm going to hit the home button. Let's see, let me see, can we go back? Yeah, right, I'm going to go back and I'm going to go add, and I'm going to choose pattern, and I'm going to come into here and I'm going to find my little flower, and I think I used this one, so it's AR-A013, and again this particular flower I think is in all models of ScanNCut machine, so any of your CM models or your DX or your SDX models. Now we know that the scallop shape was 2.5 inches, if you remember from the beginning when I started. So I'm going to take this down to about 2 inches for now, because I honestly can't remember what size I cut my original one. So I'm just going to say 2 inches for now, and I'm going to say OK. and I only want part A. Basically, it cuts a hole in the middle and you can cut a circle in a different colour so it, you know, looks more flower-like. But for my project, I just used part A. So I'm going to select part A and say OK. I only want one and I'm going to set it on the mat. And that's why I left this shape here for now, so that I can position this over and see if it's the right size. Now it looks as though it is, but I have a feeling now looking at it that I made it 1.75. So with my flower selected, I'm going to go back into edit, object edit, I'm going to go into the size icon and I'm going to take it down to 1.75 and I'm going to say OK. And then I'm just going to position it over there and see how it looks. And it looks fine. So now I'm going to select my shape, which was my keyring. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to send it to the trash and say OK because I don't need it. OK. So now I'm going to load my fabric mat. In fact, I'm not going to use my fabric mat. I'm going to use my standard mat. And I bet I can't get this off here now because I've put it on the wrong mat, but hopefully we'll be able to, yeah, can peel it off. So did anybody spot the deliberate mistake? I was using the wrong mat. So let me just put the fabric mat out of the way for now. And I'm going to bring in my regular mat. Okay, so let's come back to the desk. Sorry about that. So again, I've got my vinyl, shiny side down, and I'm going to stick it on my standard mat. To be fair, I can probably cut the vinyl on the fabric mat. It's just that the fabric mat is quite sticky and I don't want to run the risk of when I cut the shape and I come to peel it off, I don't want to tear away the vinyl from its carrier sheet. Okay, so I think I'm just going to be best using my standard regular mat. Okay, so face down on a standard mat and I'm going to load this into the ScanNCut machine. Let's flip you back to the ScanNCut machine, and while that's loading I'm just going to bring you around here and I'm going to pop the vinyl blade in. Okay, and I'm going to lock that in position. So now I'm going to come back to the screen. Let's see if we can zoom you in a bit. I keep losing my spatula. Oh, there it is. So I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to do a background scan again and start, because I want to position that little flower shape on my vinyl to get the best use out of my vinyl. So I can see my little flower. I'm just going to position it up in this kind of top right hand corner of my piece of vinyl, and I'm going to say OK, select, cut, and then I'm going to go into the little wrench icon and I'm going to hit the downward arrow, and I'm going to say where it says half cut, I'm going to say on, because as I explained, we only want to cut through one layer of this vinyl. We don't want to cut right through it like we do with, you know, card and most other things and fabric, because we want to keep the carrier sheet intact. So I've got half cut on, I'm going to say OK, and I'm going to press start. Now I will tell you that I'm going to be using my Cricut Easy Press to iron this on. So while this is cutting, I'm just going to switch on my Easy Press just to make it, hopefully it'll come up to temperature by the time this has cut. Okay, so we know where the piece of vinyl is, we've got the flower positioned, we've got half cut on, and I'm going to press start. And this is now going to cut using the vinyl blade. Let me move you down. it's going to cut my shape. So Christine's asking, which mat do you use for fabric? Use the fabric mat, Christine, as I've just explained, unless it's something that's particularly fibrous, like a very, very fibrous felt, because I wouldn't use it then, it'll just stick to your mat, or something like that chiffon that may kind of start to fray when you lift it off the mat, okay? That little beep was just my easy press saying it's come to temperature. So hopefully now this should be cut. So the screen's saying finished cutting, select next part or finish. Now the reason it's asking to select the next part, just for anybody that may be new, is because as I showed you, this flower had two elements to it. It had the flower and that circle for the centre. So the machine is clever enough to say to you, do you want to cut the next bit or do you really want to finish? And in this particular case, I want to finish. I just want the flower. I don't need the middle bit. So I'm going to say finish and I'm going to unload the mat. Then we're just going to come back to my desk and peel this off. Now, I can see, you probably won't be able to see, I can see the flower is there. And I can see it's not cut through this backing, which is what we want. And that's because we did, or because I did, the half cut, okay? Let me just move that mat out of the way. And I'm just going to find a pair of scissors. I mean, this, to be fair, this isn't easy to see because I've chosen a mottled vinyl. But I'm just going to chop around it. What you can also do with vinyl is you can add what's called a weeding box. So when you've got a shape like this on your mat, you can put like a square around it to make it easier. But, you know, we're living on the edge here, so let's just do what we're doing. So what I want to do now is peel the waste away to leave just this flower. So I've just got my piercing tool. Any kind of, you can buy, I think brothers sell them, you know, weeding tools and that kind of thing, and, you know, other people sell them. I'm just going to lift a corner and I'm going to peel this away. And heat transfer vinyl, and particularly glitter heat transfer vinyl, is very forgiving. So when you start to peel it away, you know, you can be quite tough with it, to be fair. So that's the waste. Okay, you can see hopefully how sparkly that is. It's kind of like iridescent. It's got all different colours in it. But as you can see, if I hold this up, because we cut into it from the pattern side and we did the half cut, we've not cut through the plastic, and that's what you want, okay? And that's what you want with any vinyl. But as I said, with the other type of vinyl, you cut into the colour side and you do your half cut so it doesn't go on the underside to your paper. So let me make a little bit of space. So I've got my easy press mat. I've got my vinyl. I'm just going to pop that there for a minute. And I've got a piece of like parchment paper. I'm just going to pop my heat press over this bottom shape just for a few seconds. You probably don't need to do it with vinyl. You tend to do this more with fabric to kind of get any moisture out, but you know, just let's cover all bases. So I've just given that a little bit of heat. I'm now going to position my flower without trying to get my head in the camera. So it may or may not be very central, but that's going to go on there. I'm going to put the vinyl, the parchment paper back over, and then I'm going to put my heat press on. I've got it set to 270 for 20 seconds, and I'm going to press the Cricut button and let it count down. And I got those temperatures from the Cricut website for faux vinyl. Now this vinyl isn't their vinyl, but I wasn't sure what temperature to use. So I just went onto their website and typed in faux vinyl, and it gives you the temperatures and how long for. And there you go, it's beeped, so it's done. Going to remove the parchment paper. And then I can't remember whether this is a warm, cool or cold peel. Vinyls, you peel them differently. Some say cold peel, so you have to wait till they're completely cold. Some say cool, some say warm, and I can't remember. So I'm just going to give it a couple of seconds, and then I'm just going to lift the vinyl carrier sheet away and peel. Now I've just noticed, I don't know, what, I forgot to weed the middle bit away. That should be hollow in the middle. On this one I weeded the middle bit away, but it doesn't matter, it's stuck down and it's there and it's done. So can you let me see if you can see how shiny this glitter heat transfer vinyl is. It's lovely. So now let me find a ring. Now I'm running out of these key rings. I bought these in a job lot ages ago, years ago. I think I got them on eBay or Amazon or somewhere. They're just 1-inch key rings, and I'm running low, but I've got some book rings which will do the same type of job. The only difference with these is I can actually flip this one open and put it through, whereas with this one, what I did was I folded this, kind of scrunched it up and fed it through like that, just so you know. So I'll show you both ways, okay? And then I stick this together. So let me find my silicone mat and let me see if this glue will work. Now this is Fabri-Tac glue, but it's got a kind of very fine metal end, and it can be a bit of a devil to want to come out. So if it doesn't want to come out, I'm going to use, I'm going to like need all my strength to squeeze that out of there. So I'm not going to use it. So what I'm going to use is this one, high-tack, very sticky glue. It's for all sorts. It's for fabric or cards or whatever. And that's what I've used on the others. So let me just find a bit of a scrap and just make sure that this is going to start flowing. So this is all I did. I mean, if you wanted to, you could put this in your sewing machine and you could sew round it. But, you know, life's a bit too short sometimes. And, you know, if you've got glue and it'll stick, use it. So while I'm gluing, has anybody got any questions? I'm just going to move that out of the way, and then I'm going to position this together. And if you remember all the way back at the beginning, when I chose the two scallop shapes, and I chose one of them and I mirrored it and then I rotated it 90 degrees twice, this is why, so that it goes together. Now this glue goes on white, but it dries clear. So if you do get any coming out, it will dry clear. And what I did with these, I just put them all together and I put a wooden chopping board on them just for the glue to set. And if you do get, I've got a little bit of glue on there, you can probably just wipe that off with a baby wipe or a bit of, what's it called, rubbing alcohol. So that's one of your projects. Really, really simple, using basic shapes that are in your machine, but giving you something that is, you know, a useful or gift idea. So that's that one. I'm just going to pop the lid on there. So we're going to move on to a Disney design, and I'm going to show you a little trick. Now I'm going to show you the project, so you can see him here, little Mickey with his glitter face. So with your Disney designs, be it the ones that are in your machine or the ones that you buy on the activation card, if you look at what it tells you that you can only resize or flip your Disney designs. You can't do anything else with them. But I'm going to show you a trick to show you how you can not only duplicate them, but how you can weld them, okay? Because there is a trick to doing it. I have shown something similar in the past in a YouTube live for creating offsets. But this time I'm going to do it to show you how you can actually not only just, you know, duplicate them and flip them, but you can actually weld them, which you can't do technically with any of the Disney designs. So I don't know if I've missed any questions, but I can see makers are answering things. So anyone else know? I'll ask Ashley too. So what we're asking, is there a minimum size turning circle for the rotary blade? My honest answer is I can't remember. The rotary blade manual is under the ScanNCut tab on my website. So if you want to go and have a look at that at some point, I'm not so sure there is, because when you watch it cut, it cuts, and then every so often it kind of stops and it goes up and it checks itself and then comes back, and I think that's how it sets its angle. But like I say, the actual manual is on my applelover53.co.uk website under the ScanNCut tab. I think most of the manuals are on there. So if you're ever stuck, just go and look for the rotary, in this particular instance, go and look for the rotary blade manual, and it'll open up as a PDF document and you can download it and read it, or you can read it on the screen itself on my website, or you can even print it off, okay? Right, let's go back to the ScanNCut machine because I want to show you this now. I might need to just put a power bank in this camera just to be on the safe side. So we should be back at the ScanNCut screen. I'm just going to move out ever so slightly. Lost my stylus again, found it. So I'm going to hit the home button and I'm going to say yes, it's okay to delete all patterns because I'm finished with that pattern now. Right, let's crack on. So we're going to go pattern. We're going to go into the Disney section. Now this doesn't have to be a design in your machine. If you've bought any of the Disney activation cards, you can do this same trick with them, okay? I'm just using one of the designs that's in the machine, and I think it was in here, and it was this one. So I'm going to do the same one, the little Mickey head. Again, I'm going to take the width down to 2.5 inches. Okay, and I'm going to say okay, and I just want, let me think about this. So I'm going to choose A first and say okay, and I'm going to say I want 2, and I'm going to set them on the mat. Okay, I'm going to bring one down here just out of the way, and I'm going to bring the other one on top. Now, let's zoom in the hope that you can see this a bit better. So, again, we need to flip it and mirror it. Otherwise, when we weld our shape to it to make it into a keyring and we come to stick it together, it won't line up. So, I'm going to choose the top one. It's just my preference. You can do it with any. It's just, this is kind of how I work, okay? So with the top one selected, I'm going to go into Edit, and I'm going to go to Object Edit. I'm going to flip it so you can now see his nose faces the opposite way. And I'm going to come to the rotate icon, and I'm going to rotate him 90 degrees twice. So he now technically will line up, okay? I'm going to say OK, 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 and I'm going to go Add. I'm going to go to Pattern, back into the basic shapes, choose the square, and I'm going to do like I did before. I'm going to make it 1/2 inch wide by 1.5 inches high. So I'm going to untick Maintain Aspect Ratio, so I can take the width down to 1/2 inch. And when I say I'm going to untick Maintain Aspect Ratio, I mean I'm just going to select it so it goes blue, and that way I can adjust the width and height independently. So I'm going to make this 1/2 inch wide, and I'm going to make the height 1.5 inches high. Okay, and I'm going to say Set. I'm going to hopefully select it. I'm going to bring it down so he just is positioned slightly over this bottom one. I'm going to go into Edit and into the 4 arrows again, and this time I'm going to bring it down so it overlaps his ear. Then I'm going to select the other one, and I'm going to bring him down so he overlaps the top of the rectangle by a similar amount, okay? And that looks okay to me. If I zoom in, you can hopefully see what we're looking at. Okay, so you can see I've got this Mickey down here at the bottom with his nose facing to the left. This one I mirrored, then rotated twice so that these will then line up, and then I've got the rectangle in the middle to weld. Okay, I'm going to say OK, OK, and I'm going to select the 3 red boxes. Oh, that's my easy press. I'm just going to turn my easy press off for a few minutes. I want to choose everything that's on the mat, so I'm going to choose the icon on the right, and you can see I've got all the items selected because I've got all the 3 items with a red bounding box around them. I'm going to say OK. I'm going to come back into the alignment icon, and I'm going to come up to the top, and I'm going to choose this 3rd icon down on the left again, which will just center them all to each other. Okay, and I'm going to say OK and OK again. Now I want to weld them, but you can't weld, as I've said to you, you can't weld the Disney icons. And I'll show you. If I go to Object Edit and choose Weld, it'll say patterns cannot be welded. There are some patterns which cannot accept or no overlaps. Okay, so in other words, you can't weld the Disney items. So what I am going to do, now I've got them all selected, I'm going to move them up here a bit, just so that I can see them a bit better. So, how are we going to get round this? Let me tell you. We're going to come back to my desk. Now, I'm just using my normal mat here. I'm going to put a piece of copy paper on this mat. I'm going to load this mat. This is just my standard regular cutting mat. I'm going to load it into the machine. I'm going to say OK, OK, and do a background scan and start. Right, sorry you missed that, didn't you? Just realised I wasn't on the screen. So I'll just explain what I did again. So makers are saying that lots of you are grabbing the the offer with the 20% discount. That's brilliant. Well done. So basically what I did, I've loaded a white piece of copy paper on a standard mat, and I've just done a background scan so that I can see where my piece of paper is. Now I'm just going to go back into the wrench and make the background darker so I can see it better. And I can see it's there. I'm going to go to edit. I've still got all the three selected. I'm just going to move it a little bit so it's more kind of central on my piece of paper. And the only reason I'm doing that is because I found if I had this design all selected and I did the bit that I'm going to do next, when it came to scan it, it didn't pick it up properly because it was kind of too near an edge. So I've just moved it into like the middle of where this piece of copy paper is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use my pen. So I'm using the little small barrel pen holder and the little pens, and I'm just going to use the black one. I'll pop the lid in there, open this up, pop my pen in, and I'm going to pop my pen holder with my pen into the machine. Then I'm going to go back to the screen. I'm going to say OK, 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 select, and this time I'm going to say draw. And I'm going to say start. And anybody that doesn't know what I'm doing might think I've gone a little bit mad. And if you've seen me kind of do something like this before, you'll know what I'm doing. So just stick with me. Let's move the camera down so you can see what's going on. Okay, so this is what we've got, okay? And yes, that doesn't look much like a keyring, does it? I'm just going to take the pen out and put the lid on just so it doesn't dry up. And I'm going to take you back to the screen. I'm not touching this mat. I'm leaving it exactly where it is, not unloading it, not doing anything with it, okay? I'm just going to bring you back up to the screen. So it says finish drawing, and I'm going to say okay. I'm going to hit the home button and I'm going to say yes, it's okay to delete all patterns, but I'm not unloading the mat, okay? Now I'm going to go to scan, and I'm going to go to scan to cut data, and I'm going to say start. It wants me to move the scanning lever, and I'm going to press start. It's just going to drag this mat in and scan those drawings. Okay, so there it is coming out. You can see it's just 3 shapes drawn with a black pen. Okay, we're back on the screen. I'm going to drag in the red drag handles to isolate that drawing. And I'm going to say OK. And I'm going to wait and see if the machine picks it up. Okay, so I can see the design, and basically what I'm tricking the machine because we can't weld this shape together because it won't let you do it with the Disney designs. So we're going to trick the machine. So I'm going to say, give me an outline. And I can see now, let me see if I can zoom you in, that the outline it's given me is just around the shapes. It's not picked up the rectangle in the middle. It's not picking up the 2 separate heads. It's literally just giving me an outline, which is what I want, okay? So I'm going to say, okay. It's going to process that, and I'm going to save it into the machine. So it's saving it. So it says to me it's saved it and it's file number 317. So I can say OK. So now I can hit the home button, say yes, it's OK to delete all the patterns. I'm going to go pattern. No, I'm not. Sorry, go back. I'm going to go retrieve data from the machine. I'm going to jump to the very last page, and here is my design that you've all just seen me draw as 3 separate elements with a pen, but now I've asked the machine to give me an outline. So basically I've tricked it into kind of welding me the shape without welding, okay? And that's what I want. So now I'm going to unload my standard mat and get rid of my piece of copy paper, and I'm going to bring in my fabric mat, bring you back here, find my piece of black vinyl. I'm going to put my piece of black vinyl back on my fabric mat. Okay, I'm going to put the fabric rotary blade back in my machine, and I'm going to load this in, and we're hopefully going to cut our Mickey shape. So let's go back here, zoom you out. Sorry for all the zooming in and out, but I want you to kind of see everything, or as much as possible. Let me see. So I've just seen a comment that says, "Is Kathleen, will you be doing a video in cutting applique, Ashley?" I have. I've got a whole series. If you go to my YouTube channel and go to the sewing playlist, I've done applique before, but I have got another video lined up for applique for a shape that I bought, and I was going to cut it in felt. I've got all the elements together. I've just not had time to cut it yet, but I have done applique in the past, and I've got videos on my YouTube channel, Kathleen, so I hope that helps. So we should be back on the screen. I'm going to go, let's see. Oh, lost it. So retrieve the data. Sorry, bring the pattern up again. I'm going to say okay, I need to set it on the mat, okay? You've just seen me put my piece of faux vinyl on my fabric mat. I'm going to do a background scan again and press start, so I know where to cut this shape from this piece of fabric. And I've just seen that someone said, don't forget to take it off half cut. Thank you, I will do. Okay, so again, I'm going to go into the wrench and I'm going to make the background lighter so I can see where my shape is. And I'm going to say okay, select cut. Then I'm going to go into the wrench on the cut page, scroll down to half cut and turn it off, because we're now using the fabric mat with the rotary blade and we want to cut all the way through. So I'm going to say okay, and we're going to press start. And close your eyes if you get sick or motion sickness. I'm going to bring you back down again and just let you watch. And if you watch the blade closely, you'll see what I was talking about. It starts off cutting and it does so much, and then in a few minutes you'll probably see it move to the top of the mat. You watch, it won't do it now on this one. But basically I think that's how it works its turning area out. When it kind of needs to kind of reset and work out how it needs to move, it will sometimes kind of temporarily pause cutting here, and it moves up to the top of the mat and it puts like the little check mark in the top of the mat, and then it comes back and carries on. It doesn't appear to be doing it with this one, so maybe because this one might not have, hasn't got as many small curves as the flower keyring or the scallop circle keyring, so maybe it needed to do more with that one than this one. See, it went to the top of the, can you see it's going up to the top now? It's kind of resetting itself, and I'm not so sure if that's kind of how it resets its you know, rotating angle. I don't know. Anyway, okay, so that's finished, and that was fairly quick, wasn't it? Again, we know hopefully this is going to have cut, but if you get into the habit of just peeling, you know, a corner back, and you know it's, if it starts to come away and your design's left behind, you know it's cut. So I'm going to say okay on the screen. So we've just got back to that for now, okay? I'm going to unload this, bring you back to the overhead, and then peel my faux leather or vinyl, whatever it's called, and then just gently lift this up. So you can see now from a shape that you're not supposed to be able to weld or manipulate, I've shown you how you can do it. And this works exactly the same way. If you were cutting this shape and you wanted a matting layer, you do exactly the same. I've definitely shown how to do that in a Sunday Night Live. You draw it, and then you scan it to cut data, and you save it into your machine. And once it's saved into your machine, you can then add matting layers, you know, you can weld other things to it. So that's what we've got so far. So I'm just going to leave that there. I'm going to put my heat press back on, and we're going to go back to the machine because I want to do the detail on his face now. So let's go back to the machine. Is there any questions that need answering? Gotta love Ashley's cheats. Learn something new every time. Thanks for another pearl of wisdom. Oh, you're welcome, Lynn. I thought you'd see me do that before, Lynn. That's a great cheat, Carol's saying. Yeah, you see, when you know how to do it, it's easy, isn't it? But, you know, you just kind of have to work out how to do it. And I've done it for you. Right, so hopefully we're back on the machine. Let's see, can we go back? Yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go to add. I'm going to go to patterns. I'm going to go back into the Disney. I'm going to go back into the section where I found my little Mickey head. Choose him. I'm going to make the width 2.5 inches again because that's what I made the original. I will say that's one thing about doing this project. You've got to remember what size you made your original shape. Unless you do it all in one go and save it. You know, but I'm doing this in sections for you to try and break it down. So it's 2.5 inches wide because that's what I used originally. I'm going to say okay, but this time I just want part B. Because I've sized the whole design at 2.5 inches, it makes the B part, which is the detail part of the face, fit the A part, okay? So we've already cut the A, you've seen me do all that, we just want this bit. Now I'm going to say okay. I only want one. I'm going to set it on my mat. Now, I'm going to get rid of this because I don't need this anymore. So I'm going to go edit, trash, and okay. And I'm going to just choose the little face part. I'm going to go object, edit. And I'm going to flip it because I'm cutting it in heat transfer vinyl. Okay. I'm going to say okay. I'm going to find my standard mat. And where have I put that vinyl? I'll use the same colour vinyl. So let's come back to my... So I'm on a standard mat now, and I'm going to use the same heat transfer vinyl, and I'm just going to put it face down, so shiny side down, onto the mat. And I've flipped the face, so at the moment it's the opposite way round to this, okay? But remember, we cut it on the back, and then when we flip it over, it'll be in the right direction. So let's put this into the machine. Load. I'm going to take the rotary blade out. I know you can't see me, but that's what I'm doing. And then we're back at the machine. Now, for some reason, it's telling me the mat's not recognised, and I don't know why. So we'll try again. Okay, so I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to do a background scan and start, because I want to position again my little Mickey head to get the best use out of my glitter vinyl. So is someone confused about what I'm cutting? Okay, so let's come back to the camera. So the black I've just cut, that I've just shown you how to do the trick with drawing it and fooling the machine so we can weld it. This is faux vinyl or faux leather, okay? It's not the vinyl that you use, you know, for decoration, which is what I'm doing now, the glitter heat transfer vinyl. It's a different kind of vinyl. Some people call this faux vinyl, some people call it faux leather. It's fabric. It's basically, you know, you can make bags with this, you can make toiletry bags, that kind of stuff. It's got a fabric backing, okay? So that's what I've just cut. What I'm about to show you how to cut now on the machine is glitter heat transfer vinyl. So basically like home decor vinyl, okay? So I'm going to grab my little Mickey face and I'm just going to bring him up to the top of the page, so you know, just to get best use out of my vinyl. So I'm going to say okay, select cut. I'm going to go into the wrench. I'm going to scroll down and turn half cut on, because again I only want to cut through this vinyl backing, not its transfer sheet. So I'm going to say okay, and then I'm going to put the vinyl blade in now. So the one with the blue top is for vinyl. I'm going to pop that into the machine and I'm going to press start and we're going to cut this. So I'll press start and I'll move you down and hopefully you should be able to see. So this is now going to cut the heat transfer vinyl. So heat transfer vinyl you can put on home decor, you can put it on fabric, you can put it on clothing, and then the orange vinyl that I showed you at the beginning, the one that's got the paper backing, is what you can put, you know, on wall art, on wood, that kind of thing, okay? Jackie's saying don't forget to put half cut back on. Yeah, I did that, didn't I? So the machine again is now saying to me, select the next part or finish, because it knows that there's another part to this design. I'm just going to say finish because I've already cut the other part, and I'm going to unload my mat. So I'm going to bring you back now, and then I'm going to peel this off. And again, you won't be able to see this, I don't think, because of this particular vinyl I've chosen, but I can see the head is cut there, the detail, and it's not cut through this backing. So again, I'm just going to try and find my scissors, and without sticking my head in the camera, I'm just going to cut, hopefully, I'll just do it bigger just to be on the safe side so I don't cut the design. Get rid of that. Again, I'm just going to peel a corner away so it releases this glitter heat transfer vinyl from its carrier sheet, and then I'm just going to peel it away, and hopefully we should have the detail of our Mickey face. And I'm not sure how well you'll see this, but can you actually see how fine this piece is here around his mouth? And the machine has cut it perfectly. Okay, so that's your waist. And this is what we're left with. This is the detail piece now. So again, I'm just going to make some space on my desk. Bring in my mat just going to give this a very quick little warm again, just to warm that vinyl up. And then I'm going to position, I'll do this on here, hopefully you can see it better, goes that way, doesn't it? So I'm going to position this now on here, which gives you the detail, but I think there's an eye or something I need to get rid of. Hang on 1 second, because I forgot to take the middle out of the flower, didn't I? I think there's an eye in here that I need to get rid of, but I've definitely chosen the wrong type of vinyl to do this project because it's so glittery. Can't actually see, but let me look at the other one. There's an eye. Let me see if I can just pop this down on the desk. It's just finding where it is. You have to bear with me a minute because I need to take his eye out, bless him. So if anyone's got any questions, they can be asking them while I'm struggling to find his eye. It's there, I think. There we go, got it. Don't panic, there we go. Let's get that in the bin, else I'll end up sticking that. Can you see now? I'm sorry about the glare. I had to take that little bit of his eye out. So let's come back to this. So this is now going to be positioned on here. That looks better now. You can see he's got an eye. And I'm just going to position that on there. I'm going to put this piece of parchment paper back on top and press go. And just let that count down for its 20 seconds. Ashley, is it okay to ask which brand of glitter HTV you are using? Yeah, this particular one is from, hang on. It's Green Stick. I have shown this before when I first got the Easy Press, but I've also got Cricut heat transfer vinyl as well. Okay, so to be fair, it doesn't really matter what you use. I'm just going to move that mat in the hope that you can see this better, and this may hopefully have cooled down enough for me to peel that away. Okay, so I'm going to throw that away. That's the carrier sheet that we didn't cut into and it's still sticky, so I'm just going to fold it on itself and throw it away. And then we just need another ring, and as I said before, I've kind of run out of these proper key rings that, you know, you just kind of pull apart, so I'm using butt rings for this particular exercise, but they work the same. They're pretty you know, strong, holding together. So I'll just clip that in place, and I'm going to glue this one now like I did the other one. So I'm just going to apply, if my glue's not dried up, I'm going to apply some glue, and then I'll show you another one I did using a shape that's in the machine. I should be doing this on my silicone mat really, shouldn't I, so I don't get glue all over me cutting mat, but never mind. It's done now. Just add a bit more glue. Try and get the lid on this glue. Bring my silicone mat in. And then again, I'm just going to fold this over, line it up, and because we did the mirror and then the rotate 90 degrees twice, this should all line up perfectly. I'm just going to give it a press for a minute. Move that. So let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. So from choosing a shape in the machine, mirroring it and rotating it, adding a rectangle, drawing it out, saving it into the machine, and then scanning it to ScanNCut data, we've been able to create an outline for a shape that you can't do any offset or weld with, and we've been able to create a keyring. That's the one I did from the basic shapes that's in the machine that I forgot to weed the middle out. That's one I'd already done, and this one you can see I weeded the middle out. This is one I'd already done. Now for this one I used a kind of glitter fabric vinyl. That's why this one looks more shiny than this one. And I forgot to mirror the face and cut it like this. So that's why this one faces that way and this one faces that way. Okay. And then I did this one, and this is a shape that's in your ScanNCut machine, and I did it exactly the same way as I've shown you in the techniques today. So that's today's project. I don't have anything else to show you or tell you as far as I'm aware, apart from the fact I've used the vinyl blade, the rotary blade, and I've used the fabric mat, which is the gold strap mat, to cut all the fabric, and I just used a regular standard mat with the vinyl blade to cut the heat transfer vinyl. So has anybody got any questions? So I can see Lynn saying so cute, love, love, love. That workaround will be so useful. You're welcome. I've shown how to do it before, as I say, but I've never made this project before. So this is kind of like a first for Maker Superstore. Let's see, things are flashing up that quick. I can't keep up with all your comments. Maureen's saying thank you. Thanks for the tips. You are so amazing. Oh, thank you, Karen. That's lovely of you to say. Love watching. Thank you. Oh, my days. Oh, they're all whizzing up in front of my eyes. I can't see what's going on. Thoroughly enjoyed the session and the inspiration. Thank you. So that's Den. Oh, thank you. Karen saying thank you. Susan saying thank you. That was brilliant. Very informative show. Thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Oh, thank you. Pat, Marilyn, all saying thank you. Wonderful masterclass. Another great tutorial, Ashley. Thanks again for your precious time. Oh, you're welcome, Lynn. So anybody that might be new, if you don't know, I do have a website. I'm just going to do a shameless plug. applelover53.co.uk. There's also a blog on there. There's also a ScanNCut tab that has loads of information about the ScanNCut machine, looking at machine comparisons, all the manuals. And I usually do a YouTube live on my Apple Lover 53 YouTube channel on a Sunday at 5 p.m. My puppy was poorly over the weekend, very poorly. He was sick for 2 days. So I didn't do the live last night because my daughter Hannah was away and I was having to look after him because he just kept throwing up, bless him. But usually I'm live on a Sunday night on my YouTube channel, so come and join us. I think have we got everything? I know makers are here. Is there any other comments or anything that I need to answer before we go? And again, don't forget, go and grab your rotary blade and your fabric mat because there's 20% off it at the moment on the Maker Superstore website, which is brilliant because, you know, every little penny helps, doesn't it? And I do know that the rotary blade, you know, sells out quick. So, you know, if anybody's been sat on the fence wondering whether they should get the rotary blade and the fabric mat, now would be the time to do it. Karen, thank you. He seems to be a lot better today, but he's not eating, so I'm a bit worried about him, to be honest. So I'm going to try and go and give him some food again when I go back to him in a few minutes. And if he doesn't eat, I might phone the vet, because he literally hasn't eaten since he started throwing up on Saturday night. And I know that they can lose weight quite quickly, but thank you for asking. Order from Makers Superstore. So makersuperstore.com. But if you probably click on that link, it'll probably take you directly there, that Makers have put on for you. So Lynn saying, Makers wish you had a store in EU, used to buying everything from you, but now hit with the import duty. Oh, it's rubbish, isn't it? And everything seems to be getting held up with deliveries and things, you know, it's madness. Try chicken, and yes, phone the vet anyway. My daughter is a veterinary nurse. Yeah, I read chicken or eggs, plain eggs. So I gave him some plain scrambled egg yesterday and he threw all that up as well. Bless him. So Jackie's saying, thank you, Ashley, for your tutorials. Oh, you're welcome. You're also welcome. I mean, I don't know all this stuff, you know. I just play. And that's how I find out how to do stuff. Sorry, we had Lynn's comment locked on the screen then. Yeah, it says new comments. Let's see what we're saying. Thank you, Ashley. We will keep the offer if the stock lasts for a couple of days. There you go. So, like I say, if you have been on the fence about whether to buy it or not, or even the rotary blade, the vinyl blade, because Makers Superstore sell all the accessories. So, you know, if you've been on the fence about the vinyl blade, the one with the blue top, you know, if it's in stock, you can buy that from them as well. But yeah, fabric mat, rotary blade. You saw at the beginning all the different things that I have cut with it, you know, testing it out in my life about a month ago. Your playing encourages us to play too. Well, that's what it's all about. That's how I learn. I think I've just got a bit of an inquisitive mind. Not for everything, but funnily enough for like machines. And I just kind of want to know, can you do that? And kind of push the boundaries a bit. And that's how I figured out how to be able to weld the Disney shapes. I don't know whether Brother would be very happy with me about, you know, telling the world about it. But, you know, hey-ho. Vinyl blade back in stock now. There you go. So if anyone's been on the fence about the vinyl blade, you can get it there as well. And Lindsay Makers are a fab store. So, oh, lovely. Thank you for that. So, if you've got anything to ask me quickly now before I go. And I'll just give it another couple of minutes. I'll just be putting the covers like a good girl on my mats while I'm waiting to see if anybody has got any kind of last minute questions. But if there's something that you needed to know and I've not answered it, then I'm sure you'll be able to leave a comment on the Makers Facebook page and we'll try and get back to you. Thank you, really helpful. I'm new to ScanNCut, so giving me lots of other helpful info. Brilliant. And Charlotte's saying, yes, thank you, Makers. So much fun. So that's that. Tidy up all my rubbish. Put all my blades and stuff away. And I'll go and find my little Eddie and see if he's okay. Right, what we're saying, Ashley, question for someone else, not us. Would you do another one of these for Makers? Of course. Suzanne, what materials are you using, please? So, Suzanne, do you mean today? So today I've been using what's called faux vinyl or faux leather. And I've been using glitter heat transfer vinyl. And again, this is faux leather This is the sewing kind, okay? The things you can make bags and stuff with. This is glitter faux vinyl, but it's not vinyl like heat transfer vinyl or vinyl that you put on cups and things. This is, again, it's got a fabric backing. You can sew with this. You know, you can make toiletry bags or bags and that kind of thing. And this is the same, it's just two different colours. But the silver on Mickey's face here is heat transfer vinyl, okay? So I hope that helps. So I'm just unplugging everything while I'm waiting to see if any of you have got any other questions or comments. I don't mind answering anything if anyone's got anything, but if you all, oh sorry, that was my plug. If if you're all sick of hearing me now and you want to go, then we can end it. So there doesn't appear to be any more questions popping through. So I'm going to say thank you for being here, everybody. Hope you all got something out of it, and hopefully I'll see you all again. Sheila, I want the vinyl cutter. Do I need the other holder too? And is there a discount code for these, please? The vinyl blade, you just buy the vinyl blade. It comes complete. Let's just answer Sheila before we go any further. This is your vinyl blade. This is how it comes. And it just sits in the cradle that's in your machine. Okay? So you don't need anything else. Yes, faux leather. Okay. Anything else? I think faux leather, did you say? Yes, I did. Faux leather, it's called, or some people call it faux vinyl. It's the sewing kind. Okay? Everyone's saying thank you, brilliant, thank you. What is the difference between what, Bex? Not sure what you're asking, what the difference is. Between the rotary blade and the fabric blade. The rotary blade is the fabric blade. Is that what you mean? We have a black top blade, which is your standard blade. Hang on, let's get them out. So we have this blade, which is your standard blade in your SDX machine. I think, is it black in the DX models as well? In the SDX models, it's black. That's your standard blade, okay? We have the gold top blade, which goes with the fabric mat, but this blade is just, as I said at the beginning, this is just like a straight type of blade. So this is for thin, unbonded fabric. So something like quilting cotton, and you'd use that with your fabric mat. Your rotary blade is for virtually all kinds of fabric material. So as I showed at the beginning, it's cut faux leather, faux vinyl, quilt batting, quilting cotton, light upholstery fabric, certain types of felt, chiffon, all types of fabric, okay? This one is more for just unbonded thin fabric, so like quilting cotton, okay? And then we have the vinyl blade. So if you've got the fabric blade and you're only going to cut quilting cotton, I would suggest getting the fabric mat to go with it, and you know they match because they've got the same colour on them. But if you want to cut a variety of fabrics, get the fabric mat and the rotary blade, and that's what's on offer today with the 20% off, okay? All right, so I think we're done. I'm just putting everything back together before all the batteries pack up on all my cameras. And yeah, as makers are saying, the rotary blade is a rotary blade. It's like a rotary blade you would buy for quilting. It's a circular blade that rotates. The fabric blade is just a standard, different type of blade to your standard blade or vinyl blade. So it's a straight blade and that drags through your fabric, okay? Whereas your rotary blade rotates and glides through. Shirley's saying the vinyl blade doesn't appear to come with a holder. My vinyl blade, Shirley, from Maker's Superstore came like this. I think my camera's packed up. Sorry, I'm going to have to swap. It came like this, complete, with the holder and the blade in it. Okay? Right, I am going to have to go now because my cameras are starting to pack up and you're just going to end up seeing black screens. So I'm going to say goodbye. As I say, if you've got any other questions, post them on Maker's Superstore website or send me an email and I'll try and answer them. So thanks for being here, everybody, and hopefully I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.